Auth66, day 45. We'll go with that. So usually I save this for the weekend. Today's a bit of a rough day. Sometimes those days happen. So today I'm bringing out one of my old faithfuls, a book. This book's actually pretty special to me too. There are a great many authors I discovered when I was younger. And I think the power of books are in the ability to teach you things through reading through someone else's perspective. But they can actually also be super powerful in helping you to feel seen. And I remember reading this book in particular. And, not necessarily identifying with, the parent situation or whatever, or all of that. But definitely with Matilda, which if you're not familiar with the story, you've probably seen the movie. Matilda's ability to learn through reading and transport herself to other locations. So I'm going to read the little passage here that kind of talks about it. It was pleasant to take a hot drink up to her room and have it beside her as she sat in her silent room reading in the empty house in the afternoons. The books transported her into new worlds and introduced her to amazing people who lived exciting lives. She went on olden day sailing ships with Joseph Conrad. She went to Africa with Ernest Hemingway and to India with Rudyard Kipling. She traveled all over the world while sitting in her little room in an English village. I feel like the written word is that. It's the ability to travel, to empathize with someone else's point of view, to, separate from what you see or experience in front of you, to relate to the world in a different way. And, we may not all be able to afford to travel or go to the places that we want to in the world, but you can learn something about them by reading a book. It's not quite the same, but sometimes it's almost better, because rather than using, your senses, you're using your imagination, and you get to decide what that world looks like. And sometimes the real world doesn't actually match up to that. So books allow you this ability to give you a framework by which you can understand what it should look like, or, the types of things that are a part of that. But it also gives the ability to, picture it in your own mind and use that imagination to kind of wonder, what that might be like, or put your own color on it. It's creativity of a different kind. And you can see there's a fair amount of books behind me, but what you can't see is this, my and on my desk, which should be clear, but whatever. But there's also 3 floor-to-ceiling bookshelves that this phone is currently resting on, full of books, many different kind of books, because I like to travel, whether that be with my feet or with my mind. I want to hear the perspectives of other people and see, a point of view that I'm not familiar with, and I've loved that since I was young. So, having the ability to have a library is a privilege, to be able to collect these books, however I got them, whether they be gifts or bought myself, or, picked up at garage sales or whatever. I think they're just so incredibly powerful. If you're not reading maybe as much as you usually would because, well, the internet, I recommend going to one of the charity book sales near you and picking the most random thing and just giving it a try. It's a low cost investment, and having something tangible in your hands is kind of still part of the transactional experience for me of reading, but also an important part, I think, of seeing the journey of reading the book, right? In the beginning, you can see that you have, only finished a couple pages, but as you go on, there's a visual of the progress that you're making, right? To read a book is like achieving a goal. Not only do you learn what's inside of it, but you've started something and you've stopped it and you've accomplished something. And there's power in that. There's power in, your own self-worth, I feel like. At least that's how I draw it. Books will always be one of those things that I think I'll be in like a retirement home, you know, whatever that looks like, and I'll probably have like a shelf because there's some books I'll never be able to get rid of. Like I said, Matilda's one of my favorites. I love Harry Potter. I love books with magic. I also love books with like mystery and historical references. I mean, to be honest with you, I've been reading since I was about 4 years old, so there's probably not a book that I wouldn't read, unless it's some horror. I like thriller, but not like gore for the sake of gore. But anyway, I digress. Pick up a book. That's basically what I'm saying. Whether you find it difficult or not, find the type of subject that speaks to you, because there's so much to learn from taking yourself outside of yourself and putting yourself in someone else's shoes.